Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you another video. All right, so it's a couple things that I wanted to talk about that I kind of only paid but so much attention to be honest with you. But it is very important that I address my understanding to continue to raise awareness for the conversation. So, yeah, man, this Palestinian-Israeli situation, genocide, conflict, I really don't know the proper term for it at this point. It's obviously a genocide, but it's also a apartheid. It's a lot of just awful racism, Islamophobia, religious extremism, politics. It's got a lot of different components wrapped up in it, and so on and so forth. We just talk about it to the best of our ability and leave it alone. But you know, in this conversation, man, I'm just very aware of a situation that's happened with a guy who essentially is a legal alien. He had his papers, but government officials came to his house or came to where he worked or wherever the hell they was at. I think he was a student at Columbia University, I believe it is. And deported him for being a Palestinian supporter, someone who advocated for negotiation. Somehow he was involved in negotiating for Palestinian rights and freedoms or what have you. I don't know how this guy's whole thing was set up, but from what I understand, as it's being reported, he was deported to Syria, his native country, just off of the strength of his support for Hamas, who is what America considers a terrorist organization, for which, you know, those of us who are paying attention to the situation have a very different view on the resistance to that circumstance. And so it's not fair for him because he's legally supposed to be able to stay here. And there's been a large uproar of people supporting him. And if I'm not mistaken, it was one of Trump's properties that the Jewish Coalition for Peace, I believe is what they call themselves, showed up and put on a fantastic demonstration of protest, representing their people properly in support of this individual who was unlawfully deported for supporting what we know is justified and morally sound. And so that's what I wanted to bring up. I wish I knew his name. I wish I came prepared in that regard. Like I said, my understanding of the story is a bit loose, but I wanted to bring some awareness to the idea that this has happened, that they are taking people who have their papers and deporting them for supporting Palestinian side of this genocide, and for being outspoken in regards to that support. I understand that one of his professors at Columbia turned out to be a spy for the Israeli government, and it has been said that he has likely been deported because of her efforts in reporting him to them. So that's something that needs to be understood in this situation as well. But you know, it's just a real messed up situation, and hopefully he's able to be safe where he's at, because that's part of the problem. You send a guy to Syria, now they can get to him in a different kind of way than they probably would be able to get to him on American soil, and also from there be able to get back here to where he ultimately should be welcome. So that's what I hope. I understand there's a lot of people with a lot of sway in this regard who have the ability to see to it that does not happen. But just the same, a guy should not be deported for supporting the resistance to poor treatment of human beings. You know, just because of the political alignment of those who are in position to do the poor treatment to others. And so that where our country is in a space where they can live in a dystopian denial of the right to Palestinian humanity and existence, is something that I would love to see those who support that be confronted about. It needs to be confronted. It needs to be confronted. They're living in a space for which up is down and down is up as it pertains to these people's rights. And we saw them do the same thing to the Native Americans. We saw them do the same thing to my people. We've seen them do the same thing to others as well. And that they've pointed this energy at those people at this point does not mean that this is new. This is not new. This is not new. This is something that they've been doing for a long time to different people. And it's especially painful to see it being done again. So that's what I want people to understand, that my point of view on this and where my vested interest in this conversation ultimately is as well. I believe that it is clear to all of us that this same thing was done to our people. You know, excuse me, brother. These are different things that have been done to our people, and we don't want to see that happen anymore. We don't want to see that happen anymore. And that's really what it comes down to. I don't want to see it happen to nobody, bro. It's not just that these people are brown and from the Middle East, or that, you know, it reminds me of this or that it was, this is being done in the place of interest to my religious, as a, you know, background as a Christian. This is obviously somewhere that, you know, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is from, this land, you know what I'm saying? It's not just that. This could be anywhere. This could be to anyone. I don't want to see this happen. You know what I mean? It's like, and we've had a million different conversations with a million different tones about the same subject. It's just the tone I have for it today. This is devastating to see that you can still see people, humanity, get brushed aside for the sake of the structure of things. The structure of things will make it so that people will turn a blind eye to the humanity of some. And that's awful, man. And that there are a lot of people who agree with this, who align with this, who think that is their spiritual duty to be able to engage in this unfair and barbaric behavior for any reason, speaks to just how far behind of where we thought we were in our progression for human rights and social justice. This is where we thought we were before we began to fight again for our civil rights in this country, only to see that the civil rights that we fought for are now being denied in regards to those people over there. My ancestors did not fight for civil rights for just black people. We fought for civil rights for everybody and for the upholding of our country, to maintain a balance in regards to every single soul's human rights. And that we have gone so far away from that as it pertains to those people is just a betrayal of all of those fights. Every bit of those fights has been betrayed by all of us for upholding this, for which is an apartheid state that our country is apparently best allies with, which is absolutely and utterly, phenomenally, spiritually and morally bankrupt. It is bankrupt. It betrays everything that we've ever stood for. And that's what I'm here to tell y'all, man. There's no way people of color can be aware of what it is that's going on with that Palestinian conflict, as well as documented as it is over the last 500 days. There's no way you could be fully understanding of what it is that's going on there and uphold that and consider yourself anything less than betraying your ancestors. Your Native American ancestors, if you have them. Your Black American ancestors, if you have them. You are betraying those people by saying it's fine that this be done to the Palestinian people on your watch, on your dime. And it's just sad, man, that we didn't actually mean it when we said we wanted to see, you know, humanity upheld for all people. We didn't mean that. We are just as much selectively choosing who should get and who shouldn't as the slave owners did. when they said all men created equal but didn't mean black people. We ain't no different. We're choosing different people to side aside, but we're the same type of demon when we engage in this in 2025. A lot of y'all call yourselves patriots, but you betray the very essence of what your Constitution has ultimately been about. No different than those who wrote it did. And maybe you say, well, this is not my country, it's not my problem. Well, it's your country funding it, so it's most definitely your problem. And even if it ain't your problem, it should be your, as an American, the policer of the world, if that's a word. We try to police the whole damn world on every damn thing. And when it comes to this, with our allies, we turn a blind eye to all the horrible things they want to do from a spiritual standpoint. They have religious beliefs backing them into spaces for which they treating people wrong willingly and on purpose. They doing horrible things to people on purpose, willingly, and using a reason that has holes all through it to justify it. A reason that has holes all through it to justify it. It's like at some point in time, we got to start looking ourselves in the eye, in the mirror, and saying, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Because if I'm going to speak ill about anyone who bullies anybody on anything, how am I any different if I'm allowing this to happen without speaking up? A lot of us love to point out bullying in schools. A lot of us like to point out unfairness. A lot of us like to be litigious and sue people when we don't feel like we're getting fair treatment. But when it comes to something like this, we're so very comfortable with allowing people to get screwed over. Well, that's different. How is that different? Those are human beings. Just because those who are doing this to them have convinced themselves these people aren't human beings doesn't make them any less human. Where does your morality begin as it pertains to the balance of fairness? Or does it just only pertain to yourself? And if so, it's every man for himself. What's to keep us off you? What's to keep them off you? Whoever, however. What makes you safe in a world where balance is not necessary and people can steal land and lives from one another? How can you convince yourself you're in a space of trust around any damn body when you allow people to kill people for the sake of their religion and the sake of their land? And allow, furthermore, for the molding of their image to be considered something that it has not been proven to be. I mean, the hypocrisy should never be called out by anyone in America ever again. If you see hypocrisy anywhere, you should be fine with it. You see chaos anywhere in your midst, you should be fine with it, because that's what you're upholding when it comes to that conversation. You're fine with it. And so that's where I stand in regards to this conflict. I don't particularly find myself any more or less frustrated than I've been over the last 500 days. I still understand that they're starving the hell out of the people in the West Bank. Just like they did to Gaza. They destroyed Gaza, starved people out in Gaza, terrorized and did all types of weird psychological traumatic things to those people in Gaza. They're doing the same thing in the West Bank. They are starving those people out, not giving them what it is that they ultimately need to have basic human rights. And then furthermore, shunning anybody that would otherwise have a problem with that. And using language and rhetoric to justify it. I just want people to understand this is going on, man. This is not just me talking. This is happening. They're doing this. And so as I speak, you're hearing of children still losing their lives in just unimaginable situations. People say that the genocide is over. Nah, it's just slowed down some. They're still killing. It's just slowed down some since Trump got in office and made them slow it down. They're not as loud about what they're doing, but if you look in some of these forums that communicate what is happening on the ground in those spaces, you still find out that those same things are still taking place right now. They're still doing it. They're still targeting people. They're still starving people. They're still doing horrible things to people. So it's like, don't think that this is over. It's not over. There's no ceasefire. They're still firing. They're just not shooting as much. There's still a different story every day. There's still a body on my screen every day. Still, I'm seeing dead children that have died. You know what I mean? Still. They shot a little boy in the head a couple days ago. They shot 50 bullets at a little girl a couple weeks. Like, this is still going on. I heard of another individual that got shot in the head. A man got shot in the head a couple days ago. Like, this stuff is still happening. If you follow the Telegram accounts that I follow, you every 3 hours, every 2 hours, there's something new to tell about what's going on in that situation. But don't let anybody tell you this is over. We're past the genocide. It's over. It ain't. They're still killing these people, man. They're still doing it. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.